It's time!
What's kicking, everybody? We are Pickin Fights. Welcome back. Thanks for tuning in. We're here to talk to you about Eagle FC 45. Just kidding. No, we're not. We're here to talk to you about something that's probably a little bit less exciting. We've got UFC Fight Night, Walker versus Hill. Rough week. Tom, how are you?
Yeah, not the best card I've ever seen, but it's better than nothing, I guess.
Yeah, I know. It's a little bit of entertainment for a Saturday night. What is it, Saturday night or Saturday afternoon? Let's see what time this shindig starts. Okay, it's 4 p.m. So at least nice. So at least they won't be bogging down our Saturday night. You know, it won't be like last week. Everybody's going out, having a good time, hitting the bars, and then we're all just kind of like big UFC fans, like you and me. We're like kind of watching the fights on our phone. You know, like, oh shit, Ty and Derek Lewis are starting. Let's tune in real quick. Oh man, Rob and Izzy is going into round 3. Let's check this out real quick. This is going to be one where it's like, all right, 4 p.m., you know, like almost like a pregame type of fight card where, you know, it's not, in a way, it's not like the main event. You know what I'm saying? Like the main event is going to be going out Saturday night, doing what we do Saturday nights. And this is just going to be the pre-show, you know, something to have on while you're getting ready to go out with your friends. So we'll jump right into it. We're going to start per usual by saying, please like, subscribe, comment down below. Got you there, didn't I? Like, subscribe, comment. Check out @_PickinWinners, Instagram, Twitter. Our Twitter handles are going to be below us. And, you know, let us know what you think of these videos of our picks tonight. Win your money, lose your money. Just be responsible, please. So we'll jump into this fight card for real now. We're going to start per usual with our prelim locks. I'm going to kick mine off. I got Jessica Rose Clark, a.k.a. Jessie Jess, going up against Stephanie Egger. Jessica Rose Clark, she's like a big-time prospect. You know, she's a woman. So the UFC isn't going to promote her as much as they do male fighters. You know, they're going to have her sitting on those prelims for a while, especially on these fight nights. But listen, I know Tom loves Jessie Jess. I do as well. You know, there's so much to like about her. And I think that she's got a really good shot against Stephanie Egger. And, you know, the people of Tapology definitely agree. 87% of the votes coming in on Jessie Jess, 88% of those to win by decision. I just think Jessie Jess is a way better fighter. All around way better grappler, way better striker, and she's got way cooler tattoos, especially that one right below her right eye. So I'm rolling with Jessie Jess in this one. Tom, I'm sure you agree. What do you think?
Yeah, I'm right there with you. I think Jessie Jess is, you know, she came out, she had a dominant performance, albeit it was lackluster in her, most recent fight. She came out, she showed her ability to grapple and maintain a dominant position. However, she wasn't very offensive from that dominant position, whether that be searching for submissions or, you know, looking for ground and pound. She came out after that fight and, you know, didn't apologize for her performance, but did say, you know, she is going to want to, you know, be more exciting. So I'm interested to see what she does here. Like you said, I think she is a good and a much better, well-rounded fighter in her most recent fights, and she's just been getting better. And I think it's only a matter of time before she puts it all together. So, you know, I'm right there with you. I'm going with Jessie Jess in this one.
Yeah, absolutely. I love the pick in this one. I love Jessie Jess. And, you know, being that she didn't have to do too much from an offensive standpoint while on the ground, you know, just dominating her last fight. We have said this many, many times. Women's fights are generally judged more on control time when it comes to grappling than anything else. They don't have to do too much damage. It's really just who's on top, who's on bottom. So do you got any prelim locks besides Jessie Jess?
Yeah, I'm going with Jonathan Pierce over Christian Rodriguez. You know, Pierce is 11-4, Rodriguez is 7-0, but 7-0 is a little bit deceiving. His most recent fight was a verbal submission against the guy who was 19-36, Ryan McIntosh. Before that, he has a unanimous decision win over a guy who was 4-1 or 5-1 on the Contender Series. He won, but didn't do enough, I guess, for Dana White to earn him a spot in the UFC. And before that fight, he has a TKO victory over a guy who's 4-2. So I think his level of competition just really hasn't been there. And, you know, you go from being on the Contender Series, not showing enough, and then your next fight is against a guy who is 19-36. I think that says a lot about what his coaches think about him and, you know, who he should be fighting in order to look impressive. You know, going against Jonathan Pierce, JSP, I mean, he's got wins over Omar Morales via rear naked choke, Kai Kamaka, TKO and ground and pound. I know he's no longer in the UFC, but I think Kai Kamaka really deserves to be in the UFC, or, you know, he is a very good caliber fighter. So getting a win over him, I don't think is anything to scoff at. You know, he has a loss to Joe Lauzon, but, you know, that guy's a veteran of the UFC. And, you know, at 29 years old, I think JSP is just entering his prime. I think, you know, he's going to use his experience in the UFC, and I think he's going to hand Christian Rodriguez his first loss.
So I don't really have any more prelim locks, but I do have a prelim lock to watch, actually, surprisingly enough, for this card. Before I say that, do you have any other prelim locks that you want to jump on?
No, I don't have any other prelim locks. I was just going to say that I think I can never pronounce her last name. Diana Belbita, I think is her last name.
Yep.
I think she's got a very good opportunity to win here, and I would take her by to win by decision, and maybe throw that in a parlay with the other two locks on the undercard.
Yeah, I'm with you on that. This is a battle of absolutely two gorgeous women, but I really like Diana Belbita, the warrior princess. She's only 3-2 out of her last 5. Coming out of Romania, she's a -120 underdog here. But we've often had like these, don't bet against Georgian fighters, don't bet against fighters from Dagestan. And being that she's from Romania, another Eastern Bloc type of country, I'm definitely rolling with Diana Belbita here because Romania is another country you never really want to bet against. That's where the origin story for vampires came from. And vampires scare me. If you've ever seen From Dusk Till Dawn, the movie, not the TV show, vampires are not to be trifled with. So my lock to watch this week, actually coming from the undercards, I have Gabriel Benitez versus David Onama. And, the reason that I'm saying this, and I do think that David Onama is going to win this, not enough of me feels this way to call it a lock for him to win. Although the people of Tapology do have him 80% winning. And out of that 80%, 77% are saying he's going to win by KO. But I think that this is actually going to be a good fight because you look at Gabriel Benitez, a.k.a. Mowgli, some weird nickname there. He just lost his last fight to Billy Quarantillo. That was punches from back control in round 3. It was actually a pretty nice performance from Billy Q. And then you got David Onama. He's only had one fight in the UFC so far, but wasn't really a bad loss to Mason Jones. He's 4-1 out of his last 5. Like I said, first one in the UFC. Maybe because of lack of experience from Onama, Gabriel Benitez does win this one because he has more fights in the UFC at that higher caliber of competition. But I think that this is two good guys coming out of very good gyms. You have Gabriel Benitez coming out of AKA, American Kickboxing Academy, famous for Habib, Daniel Cormier. And then you've got David Onama coming out of Glory MMA. So I think this is going to be two very good prospects coming out of two very good gyms. And I think it's going to be a very good fight to watch for that reason. I think that, if I had to pick one way for each of these fighters to win, I think that you see Onama winning by knockout, but you also see Benitez winning by a very clear decision. It's going to be one way or the other, in my opinion. Stake those how you want to. After looking at, the experience levels between the two, I might actually be feeling Benitez in this one, although Onama does have knockout power in his hands. So I'm ready to move on to the main card. How about you, Tom?
Yeah, one other thing just to note about that fight, David Onama is naturally a lightweight by trade, and he is now going to be going down, and there's a featherweight fight, so he's going to be going down to 145, which is important to note that if he actually does make it and he does that healthily, he's healthy while doing that. Yeah, you get it. If he does that all well and good, he's going to be much bigger in the cage. He's 5'11" against Gabriel Benitez is only 5'8". Onama's going to have a 3-inch reach advantage, and take in, just factor in how much extra weight he's going to have inside the cage once he dehydrates. For Benitez, who, may try to use his wrestling, I think that might be just a little bit more difficult for him to get on the ground. So maybe that swings a little bit more in the direction of this being a stand-up bout, which, is probably in Onama's favor.
Yeah, definitely true. But we also have made a note in the past of how cutting weight affects a fighter's cardio and chin. So, this is really like this one. I feel like you could almost flip a coin. I may actually stake a little bit on Gabriel Benitez because he is a live dog at plus 135. So this one is it's a little bit tough to say, in my opinion. That weight cut could be tough on Onama. You mentioned if it is healthy,
right? Big caveat.
Yeah, nothing is saying that it will be healthy. He could be literally. Yeah, he could just be eating apples for the past 6 weeks, like Christian Bale preparing for The Machinist. That movie where he was like literally just skin and bones. So who's to say how this one goes in terms of a weight cut for David Onama? In terms of a live dog,
at this point right now.
Yeah, in terms of a live dog, though, I actually do like Gabriel Benitez in this one. I like that experience. I like not having to cut too much weight. So, but that is a lock to watch. I think it's going to be a good fight. So now we're going to move on to this, some might say, subpar main card. We've got Joaquin Buckley versus Abdul Razak Al-Hassan. That's a tough name to say. I always have a tough time saying it, but as long as you take the time to pronounce it, sound every syllable out, it's all right. So who do you got in this one, Tom? I'm curious.
Yeah, this is a tough one to call because Joaquin Buckley is going to be much bigger and more likely to attempt a takedown. He probably has a little bit better stamina too. He is, they're roughly the same height, but Joaquin Buckley has a 3-inch reach advantage, and he's also probably going to be heavier too, just ultimately being there. And he's 9 years younger. Razak does have power. But I think ultimately Joaquin Buckley, if he goes in and he fights smart, avoiding the power from Abdul Razak Al Hassan, I think he puts himself in a much better position to win. Looking at Tapology, 63% have Joaquin Buckley to win against 37% against Razak Al Hassan. 78% that are 78% of the 63 taking Buckley take him by TKO. So a lot of people are thinking that he'll probably either knock him out or have a ground and pound victory. I'm gonna go ground and pound. I'll say second round, Joaquin Buckley with the ground and pound over Abdul Razak Al Hassan. Say that 3 times fast.
Yeah, for real. See, I was just actually looking for the under rounds in this fight and potentially the fight to not go the distance. It hasn't been posted yet, but looking at this fight and looking at the matchup here, and especially looking at the good people of Tapology, because these people are very rarely wrong when it comes to these things. I do think that this fight is going to end early. I'm having a hard time picking someone to win. I think that both of these guys have some good power in their hands. I think that there's a little bit more of a technique on the side of Abdul Razak Al Hassan, but I think that Joaquin Buckley is bigger, and like you mentioned, he's got that little bit of a reach advantage. So I like this fight to not go the distance. That's really my pick for this one more than anything. If I have to actually pick someone, then I'm going to go with Joaquin Buckley. I think that he has more finishing potential over Razak Al Hassan. But when those odds and the under rounds come out, if they're under 2.5 or even under 1.5, I do like those. And then I'm going to take a look at those odds for the fight not to go the distance. Make sure that you're checking out our website, pickinwinners.org. That's always where I post my blogs for the fight, usually the day of for the cards. And this past week, I had a 5-leg parlay that was plus 2,300 that hit. I was going bananas on Twitter, catching some hate. But I also had a good amount of people sending me their screenshots and letting me know that they won big with us at Pickin Winners and Pickin Fights this past weekend. So, if that's one of you guys out there and you win with us this weekend, let us know. Add us on Twitter. It's down below there. But anyways, I'm going with Joaquin Buckley, and under rounds, I'm going to take those, and I'm going to take the fight not to go the distance. So the next one that we've got is Jim Miller versus Nicolas Mata. I'm going with Jim Miller in this one. I think that Jim Miller is a very good all-around fighter. He's definitely a veteran of the game at this point. He's coming in at 38 years old as opposed to 29-year-old Nicolas Mata. But Jim Miller, A10, he's been in the game for a while. He's been in the UFC for quite some time. He's fought some other veterans like Vince Pichel. He actually fought Charles Oliveira back in 2018. He's fought Dan Hooker, Anthony Pettis, Dustin Poirier. And being that those were all losses, however, he has some good losses, losses to Beneil Dariush, Donald Cerrone. Most of those that I just listed were all losses. But then you look at Nicolas Mata, and he's only 12-3. He doesn't really have any notable wins. He just jumped off the Contender Series. I don't really know if he has it in him to go from the Contender Series right into a vet like Jim Miller. Maybe he does, and maybe this is a setup fight. But Jim Miller is not typically the guy that you see setup fights coming up against. Like this past weekend, we saw King Casey O'Neill going up and fighting Roxanne Modafferi, who finished her career 25-21. Roxanne is a setup fighter who is put out there typically against up-and-coming contenders and, up-and-coming prospects, really. And Jim Miller is typically not that guy. He's a notable name, like most setup fighters are. But Jim Miller is also a guy that, he's not really to be trifled with. And I think that Jim Miller could potentially come out with a decision win over Nicolas Mata. Now, this is tough because Jim Miller's Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu is also very, very good. And we haven't really seen too much of Nicolas Mata's. So, I don't know. I mean, I do like Jim Miller to win this fight, though. What do you think about this one?
Yeah, it's tough. And I'm going back and I'm looking at Nicolas Mata's first fight in the UFC against Joe Lowry. And I'm trying to look at, how much of the time spent, on the takedowns. Nicolas Mata, because Nicolas Mata, his profile said he had 100% takedown defense. And, with only one fight, you want to make sure, that stat is telling you what you think it is. In this case, he only defended one takedown against Joe Lowry. So, that's not necessarily saying a lot about his takedown defense. But, I do think that it is only a matter of time. Jim Miller, 38 years old now. I know we just saw Andre Arlovsky, but I think size matters a lot of the time. And when you're fighting at 155 pounds, that's a lot different than fighting at 205 pounds or 225 pounds or heavyweight. So I am a little concerned about Jim Miller and his aggressive fighting style over a period of time can weigh on you. And a guy like Nicholas Mata, who has a really good chin and it has a really good technique to where he's never going to find himself too far out of position. I think he has potentially what could be the recipe to put Jim Miller away here. It's not like we haven't seen Jim Miller lose before. He is a slight favorite in Vegas, and at the end of the day, the house is always right. So this is definitely one to watch moving forward. But I would keep an eye on Nicholas Mata, and I think that he's a decision fighter. So I think he might. Listen, Jim Miller, we think he has solid grappling, but I think there are examples of him in his past where he's not been as good on the ground. And I think because of that, he lost to Scott Holtzman, he lost to Vink Pitchell, and he lost to Joe Selecki. And a lot of those were, reason being were his ground game. So at the end of the day, I'm going to go Nicholas Mata. I think his ground game is going to be a strength for him. I think he's going to be able to show his youth, show his energy, and, stay, with his good technique and potentially pull one off on Jim Miller here.
Wow, a little bit of a contrarian pick. I don't hate it. Like I said, I'm a little bit uncertain of Jim Miller. But, in most cases, I do go with the veteran pick. So I am still going with Jim in this one. So next up, we've got Parker Porter versus Alan Baudeau. And, if you've been here before, Parker Porter, he's shown his face on a few of these cards, these shittier cards. You would know that I like to call him Parker Piggy Porter. Piggy Porter is a big fat fuck. And he's got big old titties hanging down. I'm probably going to look like him in he's 36, so I'll probably look like him in 10 years if I'm lucky enough to have a big fat fighter physique. But he is a minus 250 favorite. He's a big fat boy. And I just think that he is a few leagues above Alan Baudeau. He's fat, but he's better in this fight. And, this is really what it comes down to. Parker Porter has fought better competition. It's going to be a bullshit fight, and it's going to go for 3 rounds, but he caught a win above Chase Sherman. He caught an L to Chris Dawkis, who made him look pretty stupid. Other than that, he's got more of a veteran's history under his belt. First fight in the UFC, losing to Chris Dawkis, but after that, catching 2 wins. And Alan Baudeau, in comparison, aka the Black Samurai, another French guy fighting in his heavyweight division, he just caught an L to Tom Aspinall in the first round. That was his first fight in the UFC. Relatively, in terms of UFC experience, these 2 guys are, a little bit unexperienced, but I do like Parker Porter's experience. That win against Chase Sherman speaks a little bit to me more because Chase Sherman is a little bit more of a, experienced fighter. He's 15-7. Win by Parker Porter, Piggy Porter coming by decision. I actually like Parker Porter to just stand and strike with Alan Baudeau for 3 rounds, potentially clinch up against the cage. Just be the smarter fighter all around. So I like Parker Porter in this one to get a decision after 3 rounds. What do you think, Tom?
I think Parker Porter's going to knock him out. And I think that's because that's the way Alan Baudeau has lost most of his last fights. His most recent fight 6 months ago was overturned to a no contest, but initially it was a TKO, a standing TKO via punches. So he lost that fight to Rodrigo Nascimento. A year and a half ago, he lost, via TKO ground and pound to Tom Aspinall. He has a win via disqualification before that. So you have to go back 4 fights for him to actually get a win, which is a TKO, which is 3 years and 8 months ago against a guy who is, what's his record? 0-2. Before that, he has another loss, which is TKO via punches against 2 guys 5-1 from 4.5 years ago. This guy has a pattern of getting knocked out and getting finished. I'm going to go for Parker Porter to keep up that pattern, show his experience with the UFC, being a consummate professional. At the end of the day, Alan Baudeau is only 8-2. Really should be 8-3, and those 3 losses came in his last 4 or 5 fights, and 1 win doesn't even really count. So he's really 7-3 at the end of the day. Coming in here, he's the younger fighter by 2 years. He's going to be lighter. He's a little bit taller. He has a 4-inch reach advantage, but I don't think he's going to have the knockout power to be able to put Parker Porter away. So I think this is Parker Porter's fight to lose, and I think it's his fight to finish.
Yeah, all that fat really does help you when it comes to knockout power. I've been ripped at points in my life. You know, these people watching Pickin fights, you know, whether you're a friend or family, maybe you know that like I used to be absolutely jacked out of my mind. Some people watching that knew me like a year ago might be like, yo, he was fat. And some people know me now might be like, yo, he's got a dad bod. But I'll tell you what, all those people, they never saw me lose a fight, you know, whether it be in the streets or, you know, whatnot in the gym, whatever. But at all those stages in my life, the part where I was strongest was when I was fat, like Parker Piggy Porter. And having that big fat, especially sitting in those love handles around your hips, that midsection, that really does help because when you have that torque in your hips and there's a lot of weight following behind it, it really does increase your punch power. And so I don't totally hate that Parker Porter by knockout decision, but I also think that Parker Porter doesn't have the fight IQ to attack a knockout like that. I think he'll be the smarter fighter in this one over Baudeau, but I also don't think that he has the IQ to really attack. You know, say he knocks down Baudeau, I don't think that he's smart enough to attack it in a ground and pound situation in such a way that it really benefits him to finish it. You know, maybe like a late in the round knockdown with a fist to the face, you know, catch him right on the chin. And you know, he goes down, sits in Baudeau's full guard for a little bit, and you know tries to posture up, maybe hits a few hammer fists off his face, and Baudeau is just constantly pulling him back down. But I'm sticking with Parker Porter by decision, but I don't also hate the Parker Porter by knockout pick. I do think that that's a good pick because he could catch him with that heavy weight from the midsection, swinging and banging. So, excuse me. Next up, we've got Kyle Dawkis versus Jamie Pickett. I'm rolling with Kyle Dawkis in this one. Kyle Dawkis is definitely a way better grappler in this fight. And, you know, I think that there is, you know, like Tom has mentioned his rule, right? Like there can only be one good fighter in the family or one good athlete, right? You've got Serena and Venus and, you know, Chris and Kyle are a very good example in this one. But I think that, you know, the fight history that Kyle has with guys like Julian Marquez, Roman Dolidze, Kevin Holland, you could say potentially ducking him back in November of last year after Kyle Dawkis accidentally headbutted him in the first round of that fight, that Kyle Dawkis was clearly winning because Kevin Holland cannot grapple for shit. Kyle Dawkis is definitely a threat for, you know, those mid-tier guys in this middleweight division. You know, I think Jamie Pickett doesn't really stand a chance. He's another guy that's relatively new to this division. Kyle Dawkis, his grappling is impeccable. You know, you compare Chris Dawkis and Kyle Dawkis, and one flaw that I do see in the sibling, you know, one can only be good type of theory for this is, you know, I look at Chris and I look at Kyle, and I see Chris is way more of a brawler in the heavyweight division. I see Kyle is way more of a grappler. So maybe that could be the one definitive factor between the two of these guys. But I definitely see Kyle Dawkis just, you know, ragdolling Jamie Pickett for a couple of rounds. You know, maybe in the second one, catching him in a position where he can snatch a limb, snatch his neck, and you know, just absolutely demolish him. Jamie Pickett definitely not as experienced as Kyle Dawkis. You know, Kyle Dawkis has fought some of these better guys in the middleweight division. You know, Phil Hawes, Kevin Holland, which clearly winning that fight, Brendan Allen. So I really like Kyle Dawkis to win this one. And I think it most likely comes by way of submission because of how good Kyle Dawkis's, excuse me, Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu is and how good his grappling is. I just don't think that Jamie Pickett can keep up. What do you think, Tom?
I think Kyle Dawkins is going to win a decision here against Jamie Pickett. Jamie Pickett is known for, being a guy who works in the cage grappling situation. So, being up against the cage and trying to move your opponent via that way, control them. But the fact of the matter is Kyle Dawkins, that's really his specialty as well. And he's better at it than Jamie Pickett is. And I think that is, when you're better at somebody at their specialty, I think that's ultimately indicative of how that fight's going to go, especially when, like you were saying, Kyle Dawkins has shown he has really good Brazilian jiu-jitsu, and his distance striking and his distance management is really good as well. He's never been finished in the UFC, and out of the UFC he had a little bit in his amateur days, but those were his amateur days. I think everything is in the corner for Kyle Dawkins to win this fight. I don't think that Jamie Pickett is going to allow himself to get finished, whether that be by submission or TKO. But ultimately, I do think Kyle Dawkins is going to win a decision.
Yeah, I think that's a fair pick. I was really going with Kyle Dawkis to win by submission because, I feel like that's probably a higher value pick in this one. But at the end of the day, if you stay tuned and you check out our blogs at pickandwinners.org, I'll probably be rolling with Kyle Dawkis by decision. But right now, that submission just feels like a high value pick. And I really do like him to put Pickett into a compromising position. But I like your logic there. And maybe I'll switch it up just because of you, Tom. So next up, we've got Johnny Walker, not the delicious, delicious Scotch, versus Jamal Hill, who is one tough motherfucker. I'll say that about him. He's a tough dude. That is the main event for this fight card, and I feel like on any other card, that's maybe not even opening the prelims. But Johnny Walker has somehow talked himself into maybe it's his management. I don't think it's his fighting skills. Maybe it's his history, but somehow he's in a position now where he's headlining fight nights. I believe he headlined against Thiago Santos. I don't understand what this is. It's just the name. Like, does Dana White go, well, I've got Howler Head and Johnny is Johnny Walker, so dark liquor, let's make it happen. Is that what it is? I don't understand, but I'm curious to see who you're going with in this one first.
I'm going with Jamal Hill.
I think it's Jamal.
I'm going with him. Even his loss was like impressive because he didn't really lose. His arm more or less just gave out on him because Paul Craig just kind of like fucking broke his arm. So like at the end of the day, like how much do you really want to count that against Jamal Hill? Like, I mean, yeah, sure, you did lose, but that's of all the ways you can lose, and people have lost and people you can lose to. I kind of forgive that one. Johnny Walker is a little bit more wild. He's shown less of a fight IQ. He's shown that he can, kind of let the moment get to him. Excuse me. Jesus. Losing to Corey Anderson by punches, losing to Nikita Krylov in a unanimous decision about 2 years ago, and Thiago Santos more recently. He's shown that, against better, more technical strikers and fighters that know what they're doing, he can lose. And I think, a lot of times he's let the moment get to him. And, I think this is really important for the career trajectory of Johnny Walker to see how he comes out in this fight in a main event. But ultimately, I'm going with Jamal Hill, and I'm going by knockout.
That's what I'm taking too, actually. I think that Jamal Hill is just listen, Johnny Walker. I won't even say it to praise Jamal Hill. I'll say it to shit on Johnny Walker a little bit. Johnny Walker is on the down and out, man. This generation of light heavyweight is on the outs, right? You've got the Anthony Smiths, you've got the Dominic Reyes. Jesus Christ, his name escaped from me. I almost said Dominic Cruz, but
yeah, me too.
Yeah, that's not even close. So you've got the Dominic Reyeses, the Johnny Walkers, you've got the John Joneses, who should probably leave the pound for pound rankings because he hasn't been active in 2 years. But you've got this generation of light heavyweight that's now being replaced by the Jan Blachowicz, clearly, Yuri Prochazkas, even Jamal Hill of the world, and you could even say Glover Teixeira if you want to, despite the fact that he's like 45 years old. But listen, I think that more importantly, this is a passing of the torch fight. And Jamal Hill is another guy that could be a contender in this division going forward. Johnny Walker is not. Johnny Walker is a guy who his name is not one that you ever hear, right? Unless he's headlining a fight night for some reason. Jamal Hill, on the other hand, he's a guy that people look at him and say, hey, you know what? As an 8-1 fighter, only losing that one fight to Paul Craig due to an arm injury, maybe he could be another guy that's up soon. And I think that this is just more so a passing of the torch fight, and that's why this fight was made, because Johnny Walker was so overly hyped at one point in his career. You see Jamal Hill, he's beating guys like Jimmy Crute. Jimmy Crute's another guy who could potentially be next up. OSP. So I see this as more of a storyline fight than anything. And typically those storyline fights do play out the way that we want them to. And I think that Jamal Hill easily beats Johnny Walker and throws his name in the hat to, potentially move up those rankings. He's currently, number 13, I believe, in the rankings. I could be wrong, but.
Well, this is a guy who's 9-1, but he should be 10-1. He had a win taken away because he tested positive for marijuana, which is ridiculous. And then
it's not even illegal anymore.
And then his one loss is, like we talked about, his arm gave out on him. So take from that what you will. I think he's a very, very good fighter. He's an exciting fighter. I think he's great on the mic. I'm excited to see what Jamal has for us. And, unfortunately, I think Johnny Walker, he was exciting. And then he did the worm thing where he dislocated his shoulder and he came back and he never was able to quite get traction again. I mean, he's 2-3 in his last 5. And, I think he's just, like you said, on the downward spiral. This is a big fight to determine where his career. Oh, my God. This is a big fight to determine where his career is going and the trajectory and what's going to happen in the future for him. But ultimately, like I said before, I think Jamal Hill is, going to win this fight. And I think he's got a really good chance to be a part of this light heavyweight conversation.
That's exactly what I was getting at. Jamal Hill, he is part of the next generation. Johnny Walker, what are your old news? Get the fuck out. Pack your bags. So, I feel like that really surmises this fight card that we've got. Like we said earlier in the episode, it's slightly subpar Definitely won't be as exciting as Eagle FC 45. Just kidding. I probably couldn't name a single person on that card, although I haven't really looked at it. So maybe we could. Maybe they're signing more ex-UFC fighters. I do want to say this before we recap who we're taking in this one. Please like, subscribe, comment down below. I did trim my beard. It's tough to see in this, but I did trim that beard. You know, I was waiting for somebody to comment down below. I would have just left that beard and that mustache growing forever. Now you can hardly even see my mustache, but comment down below what you think of our picks. Please be responsible this upcoming weekend. Also, check out our Twitters. His Twitter is going to be there. My Twitter is going to be here, or however this video is looking. Me speaking, him speaking, whatever the fuck. Also, check out @_Pickin Winners, Twitter, Instagram, pickinwinners.org. All right, now let's recap our picks. I am rolling with Jessie Jess, aka Jessica Rose Clark, as my prelim lock. I'm also saying maybe potentially I'm going to roll with Gabriel Benitez over David Onama. Make sure that you check out pickinwinners.org for my final pick. I'm taking Joaquin Buckley over Abdul Razak Al Hassan. I'm taking Jim Miller over Nicolas Mata. I'm taking Parker Porter over Baudeau. I don't know why I said it like that. And Kyle Dawkis over Jamie Pickett. And I'm taking Jamal Hill over Johnny Walker. Tom, let us know what you're thinking.
I'm taking Jonathan Pierce over Christian Rodriguez. I am taking, like you said, Jessica Rose Clark over Stephanie Egger. I am taking Diana Belbita over Gloria DePaula. I am taking Joaquin Buckley. I am taking Nicholas Mata. I am taking Parker Porter, Kyle Dawkis, Jamal Hill.
All right. Well, like, subscribe, comment. Like I just said, if you're here, listen. Do that shit. Are you listening?